For most of Earth's early history, life existed as single cells. But over time, some of these solitary organisms began to cooperate, forming stable clusters, and eventually giving rise to multicellular life. What's remarkable is that this transition didn't happen just once, it occurred many times, independently, in different branches of life. In fact, the idea that all multicellular life came from a single ancestor is no longer supported by modern evolutionary biology. In Cyanobacteria, the ancient microbes that helped oxygenate the planet more than 2 billion years ago, we see some of the earliest signs of multicellular organization. These bacteria developed specialized cells for photosynthesis, nitrogen fixation, and spore formation, allowing them to function as coordinated units. In fact, multicellularity in cyanobacteria is thought to have evolved more than once, and in some groups, it was lost and later re-evolved, an evolutionary flexibility that hints at just how adaptable and repeatable this process can be. The story doesn't stop with bacteria. In the domain of eukaryotes, which includes animals, fungi, and algae, multicellularity also evolved multiple times. According to current research, under strict definitions that require not just sticking together but also coordination and division of labor, multicellularity emerged independently at least 11 times. It evolved once in animals and 3 separate times in fungi, including the chytrids, ascomycetes, and basidiomycetes, twice in green algae, including the lineage that eventually gave rise to land plants, and once each in red algae and brown algae. These were not minor events, they shaped the foundation of today's ecosystems. And importantly, they happened under different environmental pressures, with different starting points, and using different genetic toolkits. Experiments in the lab have even shown how quickly multicellularity can emerge under the right conditions. In one striking study, scientists applied selective pressure to brewer's yeast by encouraging clumps of cells to settle faster. Within just 60 days, the yeast evolved stable multicellular forms with distinct life stages and simple cooperation between cells. That suggests the leap to multicellularity doesn't always require long geological timescales. When the environment favors collaboration and specialization, even simple unicellular organisms can evolve into coordinated systems surprisingly fast. There are also 2 main hypotheses that explain how this transition might have happened in nature. One is the colonial model, where individual cells of the same species began living together and gradually specialized. The other is the symbiotic model, where cells from different lineages cooperated and eventually formed integrated systems. Both models likely played roles in different lineages. For example, conoflagellates, tiny protists considered the closest living relatives of animals, can live as single cells or form temporary colonies. Intriguingly, bacterial signals in their environment seem to influence when they come together, offering a living glimpse into the kinds of triggers that might have shaped the earliest multicellular animals. What all this tells us is that multicellularity is not a rare or miraculous step but a recurring evolutionary strategy. It has appeared, disappeared, and reappeared across billions of years and in very different organisms. Natural selection doesn't favor complexity for its own sake, but when working together gives an advantage, whether it's sharing resources, surviving stress, or defending against predators, life finds a way to cooperate. And every time it does, evolution rewrites the possibilities of what life can become.